to the Do It All Dad Year podcast. This is episode 28. Was 32,104 tweets worth it / dreams to reconsider? It's a mouthful, I know. Back in the day, I would say it's a total mouthful of a title. Kim Kardashian would have a hard time wrapping her mouth around it. But last time I checked, Kim Kardashian is responsible for using her social media influence and taking advantage of her enormous reach and social media platform by getting a woman who had rectified her wrong, served her time for a very minor drug penalty, who's now committed, to make the most of her second chance. So, God bless Kim Kardashian. And like I said before, Kanye West knows friendship best. You got a problem with that? Then I don't see myself working for you and abandoning my KISS army here at home that I consider superior company than most. So, back to the original question here, folks. Was 32,104 tweets worth it? I'm going to go with no, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what do I mean by this? I pulled the plug on my Twitter account. I was on Twitter for, I'd say, as long as my daughter's been alive. So we're talking like 7+ years. So I remember for the longest time where I would whiff out loud, and you would hear my whiffs long time. No retweets, no likes. Goonish likes or appreciation down the line. A lot easier when you're like Bill Maher or Sarah Silverman and people just like worship the ground you're working on for the sake of it, and a lot easier to get retweets. If you're a no-name like myself, you have to really deliver the goods. You need to be that much better, which is fine. Maybe a better writer, no problem at all. Meanwhile, you have someone like Sarah Silverman, and she's got an interview with like Vice magazine, and she says, I think she accused Trump of being immature, because Sarah Silverman would definitely be an authority on maturity, knowing that, she still takes, bong hits in a hoodie, way past 40. I never really, truly outgrew her alternative, truly tasteless jokes phase. That's for damn sure. And God forbid Sarah, who I really appreciated back in the day, developed some sort of self-awareness and not think that she's this weighty intellectual, because that was never her spiel in the first place. But I did like that Jewish doctor rape joke. It's a little dated at this point, Sarah, but I still believe that when you got that Emmy for your stand-up comedy special, that was the equivalent of like Barack Obama getting the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know why they felt that your bushy unibrow was in contention for affirmative action sort of appeasements, but stranger things have happened. So yesterday was July 4th, obviously celebrating the birth of our great country. I know if you're African American, you're not going to feel so great, about that history. I read a very powerful speech. I'm pretty sure it was by Booker T. Washington, or it could have been Frederick Douglass, actually. And it was vicious, tremendous writing. It's in a collection that I have, Great American Speeches. And so I totally get that perspective. But I had an amazing 4th of July. Outside of, I came back from this party, and I got carted down the street. Now, the only time I ever feel really racist is when I'm carted by a blatant illegal. And the only reason why I feel really racist in that instance is because I just get annoyed by the forced irony of it all. And in this situation, I had temporarily misplaced my license. It drove me nuts. So I brought my passport because listen, I get it. I am blessed that at 41 that I still get ID, despite the fact that I do. Especially what annoys me is that when I do get ID for beer when I'm with my 3 kids, because whenever that happens, I feel like a teen mom dropout from Gainesville, Florida. I mean, at that point, my LinkedIn profile might as well, my headline on my LinkedIn profile might as well say crystal meth homemaker. But I was not with my kids. This woman has seen me before. And I've always been very pleasant. I've never really, I definitely kept my sign under wraps. Now, I understand she's doing her job. I understand that she's not a benefit of white privilege. I get it, all. I get it, folks. I get it 5,000%. Nonetheless, 4th of July, my country's birthday, 240 years. And last time I checked, an African American was elected not once but twice to be president. And last time I checked, 65 million voted for Barack Obama, 63 for Trump. So, these hurls of 64 million branded racists that voted for Trump, 63 million, I don't really see it. Because I don't really buy into the fact that all these people are suffering from a late midlife born-again white supremacist crisis. However, I get ID'd as expected. Show my passport. She had nothing to do with it. No, I only need a license. And I lost it, people. I freaking lost it. I'm not on the Adderall. I can't ascertain it to that. I had a wonderful 4th of July day prior. I was hanging out with this new group of parents, all because of my daughter. She was my door opener to this event by a lake here in northern Westchester. Kids got lots of compliments. I got lots of jealousy because I was playing cornhole. I was making shots on way downtown. At one point, this guy goes, "You're shooting them a little close." I mean, his jealousy could not have been more transparent. So from that point forward, I deliberately started making it rain from downtown, at least 30 feet behind his designated point, because I had no idea that he was a real cornhole purist. I also don't really recall money being bet on the game. I don't recall competing with him. I saw an open cornhole, and I decided to start making the magic happen and making it rain from downtown. So, but some guys are this way. What are you going to do? This is what happens when you look like Hugh Grant on stilts and you're as loud as I am, and you have these hicks from Wisconsin that this is what I have to endure, people. I have to endure. I came up with the title. Yesterday I became known as the head herder. He goes, "I need to take a break from you for 15 minutes because you're talking too much." Now, meanwhile, the last time I checked, first off, I was having a casual conversation with you, and last time I checked, I'm getting lots of laughs, and it's not my fault that I have interesting, funny one-liners for basically everything, and this is what happens when you generate 33,000 plus tweets over the course of 7 years. They always say a comedian should always have a line for everything. But is it worth it? No, folks. I don't need some hick from Wisconsin whose kids are already growing up, whose kids studying AI. That's supposed to mean anything to me? I'm great. So he works for, maybe you get a job working for Watson? Watson Computer? For IBM, right? Because that company has such a upstanding moral lineage. Last time I checked, there's an old joke here for you folks, because a lot of people don't know this, but the head of IBM, Mr. Watson, the main innovator, was actually given the highest Medal of Honor from Adolf Hitler himself, that the board of directors had to force him to get back to Hitler because they realized it was a bad look, even by then when, mainstream anti-Semitism was more, acceptable. They didn't really need to, put on the down low. So, which I just find insane. But the Germans at IBM, they worked together because what IBM did is that they had produced tracking technology that made it easier to identify European Jewry, right? So this is my impersonation of, before they were shipped to slaughter. So this is my impersonation of Watson Computer and me having a conversation my first day work at IBM if things worked out and materialized, which they did. I was actually in consideration for a job with them, and this is really working out very well. Great way to ensure future employment to feed my 3 children by talking about the awful, despicable Nazi past of IBM. So I'm sure every gun-shy Fortune 500 company is going to want to get in bed with me now. But then again, most of them don't have this awful, disgusting history under their belt. So This is my conversation with Watson Computer. Here we go. So, Watson, who's beaten contestants at Jeopardy before, Watson Computer. So here we go. Watson, do realize that you were named after a scientist that had developed technology that made it easier for the Nazis to identify European Jewry that was being shipped off the slaughter. And then the Watson Computer says to me, "No shit, Sherlock." Huh? So, it's wonderful that I could deliver a joke like that right now, off the top of my head. And that is a result of doing the 32,004 amount of tweets. I don't know what the exact number is. 4 I thought sounded like a funny number. But, was it worth it? I'm going to say no, and this is why. Because what I realized, this is so true. Neil Simon said this once, or either it was Woody Allen. And I don't want to yuck up my podcast and associate myself with Woody here. So let's say it's Neil Simon. You know what? I got to give credit to Woody. Woody said this to Neil Simon because they used to work on the Sid Caesar show together. It was the ultimate dream team writing team. It was Carl Reiner. It was Carl Reiner, Larry Gephardt. He worked on MASH, Tootsie, did the movie, wrote that. And it was Mel Brooks, Woody Allen, Neil Simon, and then Neil Simon's brother, Danny Simon, who worked for Three's Company, major showrunner for TV. So anyway, point being, Woody Allen says to Neil Simon, as long as you continue to write comedy, you're always going to be treated as if you belong at the kiddie table. And truer words have never been spoken. I don't know how clear my sound quality is. I just took another sip of the Captain Lawrence 6-Borough Pilsner. Very refreshing. It's got a solid hoppy current underbite. Huge fan. They're not advertisers of the show, but I could share this with them on a Twitter account that doesn't exist anymore, so that's not going to happen. Maybe I can get the Instagram thing, but Facebook owns them, and they promote censorship. So, you guys ever hear of Diamond and Silk? Diamond and Silk? Trump supporters. They were on Capitol Hill. Apparently, at one point, they were kicked off Facebook because they were being charged for disturbing the peace or causing harm to the community. And I'm thinking to myself, accusing Diamond and Silk. These are just sassy, articulate, African American women that have a keen bullshit filter. And I'm thinking deeming them as a threat to the Facebook community, is complete insanity. It's Nino Brown from New Jack City is a threat to a community and society. Meanwhile Diamond and Silk are more De La Soul. If we're talking as far as their overt threatening presence, as far as disrupting the New World Order, or whatever the hell you want to talk about it. But I like Diamond and Silk. So, but I'm not on Twitter. I don't miss tweets from anyone. I got to be honest with you. I don't. I really don't. I really have just gone on Google to see what Donald Trump has tweeted to see who he tried to piss off. Because, that's me. I'm a social disruptor. And also, here's another thing I'm going to talk about. I'm talking about, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Was the 33,204 tweets worth it? This is the story. It's a story about my obsession with trying to make the universe laugh on Twitter. And I'm over it, folks. I make people laugh all the time without even trying. Just riffing. So, and I remember I went to an open mic this week. I was going to get officially out of my system. Couldn't do a bunch of political stuff. I saw a huge line, meaning there's a sign-up sheet at open mics. And it would have taken me forever. I got 3 kids at home. I have ideas, for books, for kids that I want to do. And because I realized that there's just nothing outside of, Dr. Seuss and Shel Silverstein, for do-it-all dads. And that's just ridiculous. I think it's a real golden opportunity. And I think when people being completely repulsed, turned up by the NFL, those spoiled prima donnas, and, you got Hollywood. When was the last time you saw a great film you've had to see? Got to learn about, everyone basically being a rapist, enabler, defender, pedophile, denier, whatever. It's just, I want no part of it. I am picking a new fight. And my new fight is to spend is to create art that can make money, that can get that huge Larry Bird basketball court, so I could continue and extend my glorious time with my children. I am applying right now for copywriter jobs. I'm going to make a move to Delaware, so my in-laws could feel more involved than usual. So that would be a nice, refreshing change of pace. And my wife's very excited about it. So our fighting has like subsided, although she did freak out at me this week because the apparently my dishwashing stacking job wasn't wasn't to her liking. So I said, babe, you do realize that you're like a fake feminist in this instance, and that you're relegating the extent of my worth right now to me causing you some slight inconvenience when I had really done all of the preliminary cleaning and setting up, and there were no dirty dishes that you were putting in there, but whatever. I'm being boring. So was it worth it, folks? Was it worth it? Because like nothing's worse than like when you have these old fake friends from high school, and they act like, well, that wasn't funny, or that's funny. It's like, dude, unless you've ever thrown your balls or ego and gone out on a stage in front of strangers that want nothing to do with you and got in laughs, I don't care about your opinion. And also, I want to thank Joe Rogan, okay? And also, if you listen to Joe Rogan, that does not make you cool. It makes you ordinary, okay? 50 million people listen to Joe Rogan. Hey, I'm Joe Rogan. I smoke weed. I do a podcast. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Why don't you take a firm position for once? Joe Rogan. My friend's like, do you like Joe Rogan? Yeah, I mean, he's articulate. But I can't get into a podcast. I'm sorry. Call me old school. If I listen to someone on the radio, podcast, same thing, internet radio, I'm listening for the power of the personality of the host, okay? It's not the guest. Stern, it was always about the host. Michael Savage, I've been very critical of him, but now I love him more than ever before. I can't believe he's banned at all these places. He says nothing inflammatory. I mean, like, yeah, he can be a little bit like extreme sometimes, but the guy's got a PhD. Very proud, patriotic American. He talks about spirituality, religion, botany, world history. He's a civilized human being. Yet he's completely demonized. Because you wrote a book called Borders, Language, and Culture, but I'm sure he was demonized like even before that. And he's funny. He's naturally funny. I know for a fact he would be miserable being a stand-up comedian. Completely miserable. So I gotta be honest, Savage is a new role model. I mean, he makes his living off of his ideas, his thoughts, and he writes books on the side. He's able to, like, plant orchards and, tend to his garden, live off the land. A country boy can't survive. Ugh, drives me nuts. We had friends come over, my wife's friends. I was talking about applying for talk radio jobs down south, and this one guy's from down south, Carolina. He goes, Mike, you wouldn't work down south. And it just drove me nuts. It just, I am so tired of, like, East Coast elitist attitudes. But yeah, banning ice, beautiful idea. Listen, you want to know the truth? Just ask your child. Hey, Matilda, tell me if this makes sense to you. And you know that there's a police force that exists to keep all of the violent criminals into our country that sell drugs, that basically tear apart families, American families, by causing irreversible damage. Would you ban that law enforcement agency that keeps American families safe? Does that make any sense to you? She goes, no, Daddy, it doesn't. And it's true. And it's true. My kids really are superior company the most. So the point here being, folks, I'm not giving up on stand-up, but I'm done with stand-up interning, okay? Done with it. It is so out of my system, it's not even funny. And you could say that, was all this time on Twitter worth it? Not entirely, but it was worth it in the sense that I was able to get, this performing out of my system as far as proving my ability to, write, 22 topical jokes on like a really great day and get retweets up the wazoo, and then realize that I'm really beginning to piss people off and really beginning to get my mojo going when Twitter starts censoring me and shadow banning me, and all of a sudden they're fussing with my engagement rates. But I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be like, oh, Twitter, they're shadow banning me. They're affecting with my engagement rates. Meanwhile, I wasn't making any money off of it, so they weren't like taking money out of my pockets. But I don't want to be that guy because that's not reality. You can never feed the machine enough. I want face-to-face contact, people. I want to develop more meaningful relationships. I just got this text from an old bud, recruiter bud, Quincy. He goes, when are you going to invite me to your house already? Like, where do you get to live in Westchester? And that's a sign that a guy that, is not going to shame me, for being, temporarily out of work. This is a guy who called me right after I didn't get a writing job at the Howard Stern job. This is a good friend, people, okay? And thank God I got a neighbor that's not an elitist East Coast scumbag. Guy works at UPS. He works at a country club on the weekends. Take care of his family. I call him the hardest working man in Croton Falls. And I was telling him about this, old fight with, I refer to him as my friends. And if any of them are listening, you know who the F you are. And they said, it's like, they're not your friends. I'm like, thank you. You're right. I don't know why. And the thing was, I'm like, oh, so they went to some bringer shows of mine back in the day. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, well, they have to be your friends. This is who friends are in this world, okay? Friends, they don't have to care about your kids necessarily. They get really excited about new manifestations of you. But they will spend more of their time building you up than tearing you down. And their jealousy is not transparent from here to Timbuktu. And I read this quote yesterday. I decided for a new 4th of July tradition to get really familiar with some loftier thoughts by our founding fathers, the true patriots. They made America the great country that it is. And I read this one quote by George Washington. It says, it is better to be alone than in bad company. Can I get an amen? I said amen. God bless George Washington. So, that's true. I wasn't alone yesterday. I was with my kids. I met these other dads, at this party. My wife was working. God's with me in my heart. I wasn't feeling alone. Wasn't feeling like I was just missing anything. These so-called friends I was talking about, they're getting together for stickball. Probably stroking themselves. Like, oh, hey, we work in sales, and Michael, that doesn't have a job yet, and he's got 3 kids. Oh, boy, he's really screwed. No, it's the other way around, fellas. It's the other way around. And why do I say that? I say that because, you can't grow in this world if you're just, satisfied with being, a contented, half-witty schmuck. And that's what you guys are. End the story. Here's another great line by Thomas Jefferson. The glow of one warm thought is, to me, worth more than money. I love that. And that's by Thomas Jefferson. And I thought it was very appropriate because moving forward, starting this summer, I have this idea involving clowns, comedy clowns. It's going to be like my love letter. And balloons. I'm being very general, but I don't really want to give anything away here, folks. But something to look forward to. And I've decided that, I read this one line by Alan a long time ago where he talked about, the best form of art is where you can make someone cry and laugh. And I will say this, when I have hounded my younger brother, when he's gotten into reading my scripts, it's like, yeah, Josh, Michael, I'm Michael Joshua Kornbluth now, who was always called Joshua Kornbluth before, because there's this other Josh Kornbluth on Google that I hate because he's a total Google hog. I'm not going to get into it, really nothing more to know. But, point being, younger brother always said, bro, yeah, you're funny. Get over it. Get this chip off your shoulder. We all know you're funny, but as usual, you pluck at the heartstrings. And that's something that I want to that's not my new fight, because I don't want to be so antagonistic. Because everyone, I've said it before, we live in the age of the kiss-ass resistance. And my dad, who I made amends with, this past week, off the Adderall, it's been wonderful. And I said, Dad, you're right. You're really right. When you talk about, you're like, yeah, Josh, Michael, I'm all over the place. Are you funny? Yes, but you have an inner beauty. And obviously the kids bring that out in you. And now, And the reason why I call this podcast is 33,204 tweets was it worth it / dreams to reconsider is because when you have children, they do give you new dreams to shoot for. And as a result, they give you dreams to reconsider. And that old dream of mine that an ex-girlfriend was responsible for, it's not like I came out, I went to LA, I hooked up with some girl from Ithaca, and she's like, hey, you should work for television. I'm like, sure. But, outside of that, I'm like, oh, entertainment? Yeah, I like movies, but, obviously wasn't very thought through. And I hadn't started writing. I had no idea my ability to express myself. I know I had talent for, writing for different voices and characters and developing story. And, punch muscle wasn't really that developed back then. But the point being here, folks, is that, for the longest time, I was like hell-bent on, proving like my funny man credentials. But like when it's all said and done, I'm at a party yesterday, and I'm telling this guy the story about when I met Paul Mooney. And I had a call back for one of his shows. He didn't know who Paul Mooney was. I said, listen, he's Butcher Pyre's best friend, main joke writer. What more do you need to know? And I approached him and had a conversation after he wanted nothing to do with me because I'm the enemy. I'm the Scarsdale scumbag incarnate. And I look like Hugh Grant and Stilson in person. And he goes, in the end, after he passes by me, after I tell him I read his book, and his demeanor changed completely, and he passes by me and he goes, I hear you're funny. So, really, and I shared the story with that guy. He's like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, no, it's better than nice. It's a great story, and I've wasted my breath on you. And I cannot be happier that I am no longer in the business of being obsessed with laugh grabbage. I'm past it. It is so dedicating the best of my love and creativity, imagination towards pure laugh grabbage is so off the list, it's not even funny. And I remember Will Ferrell, he got some big award on MTV, funniest man in the millennium. And he goes up there, he's wearing this really funny suit, had dollar signs all over it, looked like Ric Flair basically. And he goes, anyone that still thinks I'm not funny can meet me outside of the parking lot. And that's Will Ferrell. So the point being is that you're always at the kiddie table, even when you're freaking Will Ferrell. So I don't need that in my life. And unlike Will Ferrell, I think I'd actually kill somebody. As my good old friend J Master J said, if I ever did unleash my unused headbutt, I'd probably split someone's head in two. So, and I do love my kids, and I'd like to spend as much time with them as humanly possible, and not only see them behind bars where I wouldn't last 2 seconds. So let's, continue to work towards that goal. And I thought that was a great example to share. So I want to thank Joe Rogan for turning me off from wasting my time with dedicating all my creative energy toward laugh grabbage. I was watching this special. I think it's cool that he called out Carlos Mencia for stealing jokes and everything. But meanwhile, I saw this in this same clip on YouTube. He's talking about you see this one guy Ari Shaffir. It's like, oh, Ari Shaffir. He went to he went to hardcore Hebrew school. He went to yeshiva, so he must be a weighty intellectual. You gotta listen to his droning voice like this, and I wear glasses, so I gotta be smart. And Joe Rogan's a smart stoner that does jujitsu, because Ari Shaffir, he's a heavy hitter. You gotta watch out for Ari Shaffir. Ari Shaffir knows all. Unbelievable. Got more personality in my pinky toe than Ari Shaffir has his entire body times infinity. Unbelievable, Ari Shaffir. And he follows nobody on Twitter. Where does he get the balls thinking that only Ari Shaffir's thoughts are worth paying attention to? It's staggering. Who they are? Albert Brooks. Albert Brooks follows only his wife on Twitter. Ugh, give me a break. I so don't want to part of that world anymore. So I'm watching this clip, and it's at the Comedy Store, and you see all these losery stand-up community. You call me a loser, I don't really care. I'm a winner at heart. I'm a scrapper. If you want to have a funny man contest, we can go right at it. Not worried about it. You want to have a writing poetry contest, we can go at it. You want to have a game of horse contest, we can go at it. I don't really care. But the point being is... and I could get along with basically anybody. So the point being here, folks, is that I'm watching these comics, and apparently this is the grand joke that Carlos Mencia stole from Ari Shaffir, heavy hitter, Ari Shaffir. This is it. This is like way before Trump started running, and the joke was, well, who do you think is gonna build that wall? And that's the joke. That's the gem. That is the mind melter. That is the most jealous-inducing premise ever been uttered by any funny man Jew. But the funny man Jew has been blessed with the funny man Jew bone. Give me a break. You're considering that hardcore intellectual theft? Not interested at all. Bye. Comedy store, doing stage time, getting sex. Who cares? I'm writing books. Writing books. For do-it-all dads. I only care about do-it-all dads. I don't care about like degenerate, egocentric, loser stand-up comedians that have no personality. That suffer from delusions of grandeur. I can give two shits. You're all off the list. Keep on kissing Joe Rogan's ass. Done wonders for your personality imagination, obviously. Unbelievable. Think of your Doug Stanhope. Pathetic. So yeah. So that's where we're at, folks. So I want to say this because I want to end on a positive, warm thought infused note in honor of the great Thomas Jefferson. And that's this. God gives you children. Become the best version of you. And if you're lucky, He'll give you wonderful children that you want to become better, sweeter, funnier manifestations of you. And I love my KISS Army. And yes, I am pursuing job opportunities now in Delaware and Pennsylvania. I'm close to my friend Dave, who I love. And he's been wonderful. He's been such a good bud. And buddy, I can't wait to make that move down there. I can't believe we're going to be able to hang out and like do Philly whenever. And I made a contact, with an old guy who had worked in like the account management side for an ad agency called Red Tadimer. And I always liked his style. And he was working for a new agency. They're like an interactive design agency, but they do advertising. They got a copywriting job available. And I reached out to him. He praised my unique creative approach. He's going to share my writing with the powers to be. And, if a job like that were to materialize, that'd be wonderful. Because this is how I was reading a lot of Mark Twain quotes recently. And he says that, and I never knew this was Mark Twain's quote. He's got so many great quotes ascribed to him. And my son's name is Samuel Teddy Cormier, by the way. That is an homage to Samuel Clemens, his pen name. Also to, I'll stop there. I'm not going to go off about the awesomeness of my children naming ability. But this is my point. He says that if you could find work that you enjoy, you never work a day in your life. And that's how I felt forever about, the writing, the idea generation, using my imagination to the fullest. And, opportunity, for to do copywriting, email blasts, mockumentary scripts, commercials, that's all great. Like Mel Brooks says, like reality is awful. That's why he committed his life to getting wrapped up into his imagination. And that's great, allows you to, beautify life and to punch it up and really redesign it, in your own image. And, my kids pick up on that, and they're wonderful. And I just want to provide them everything. And I know that becoming a famous American children's story writer is a start. I also want to do adult stuff too, but I want to start with them because I have to believe in my heart of hearts that God put me off the social grid of life to write about this special body time that I've had with them, because not many men have been afforded that privilege. So I want to thank the big man upstairs for that, and I want to thank God for showing me who my real friends are, during this time period, since I've been let go from Robert Half because I wasn't bringing enough candidates, despite the fact that I had 80 grand in billing, for grabs that they decided to never pay me on. But what are you going to do? Besides try to get the money back, which did not work out. And so I just want to say that I'm grateful for this time off of Twitter because it's for good now. It did make me sharper, and it was a giant open mic, but now I want real human life contact. And also, if you're going to be a successful writer, artist in this world, there needs to be, and even in corporate America too, there needs to be a giant I don't give a shit factor, meaning that you can't please everybody. And what I've learned is you got to trust your instincts, and you got to trust. I had this comedy class in Gotham Comic Club. My professor, he sobered up for Bill Hicks and Sam Kinison. He says, you should have two benchmarks of the quality of your work. He says, number one, whether it makes you laugh. Number two, whether it's good writing. And that's great advice. His name was Jim Andrina. So thank you, Jim, for that advice. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson. Thank you, George Washington. Thank you, God. Thank you for, I want to thank my real friends. And I want to thank my family for continuing to inspire me to become the best version of me and for giving me new dreams to shoot for, because now I'm going to become the sweeter, funnier, more giving, famous American that I was destined to be. This is Michael Kornbluth, your host for the Doodle Dad Year podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me, and I'll talk to you soon.